In this lesson, we are going to start writing equations of lines. Okay, so I wanted to talk about these three different forms that we have. Point slope form, you've seen it before, but it's been a while. I'll explain this in a minute. Standard form, if an equation is in standard form, the x and y are on the left side of the equals and the constant, the number without the variables, on the right side. Standard form is great if you want to plot x and y intercepts. Remember the cover-up method? To find the x-intercept, we covered up the y and solved for x. And then to find the y-intercept, we covered up the x, solved for y, and plotted that. So standard form is really nice if you're graphing with your x and y intercepts. And then slope-intercept form, of course, is very, very famous. Y equals mx plus b. If the equation already looks like this, it's ready to graph. We could use our graphing calculator if we wanted to do that. But point slope form is something that we're going to focus on today for the most part. Okay, so the name says it all. If you have a point and if you have a slope, you're ready for point slope form, just like the name says. So if we have a point and if we have a slope, we're ready for this equation. And it goes y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So when you're plugging numbers in, you're going to plug numbers in right here, and right here. So whatever point you have, the x coordinate will go here, the y coordinate will go here, and whatever the slope is will go here. Okay? And then after we put our equation in point slope form, we are going to change it to slope intercept form. Okay, so let's get started. So remember, I'm ready for point slope form if I have a point and if I have a slope. So looking at number 1, I have a point, check, and I have the slope, check. So as long as I have the point and the slope, I'm ready right now for point slope form. So it goes y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And like I said, you fill in 3 numbers. Okay, so let's just do that. So it goes y minus, and then this wants the y coordinate of your point. So which of these is the y coordinate? The -4. Remember, x comes before y in the alphabet, and x comes before y in an ordered pair. So -4 is the y coordinate, so I write -4, and then equals, and then it wants the slope, and they said the slope was -1, and then I write parentheses x minus, and then this wants the x coordinate of the point, so the x coordinate is 0. And then if you ever have a minus and negative back to back, that becomes a big old plus. So that right there is point slope form. Okay, and that's all the directions tell you to do, is to put it in point slope form, but I want to go ahead and convert it back into slope intercept form. So slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b. This is when the y is going to be all by itself. Okay, so remember when we were solving equations, if there were parentheses, you had to distribute to get rid of them. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to distribute. So -1 times x is -1x, and -1 times 0 is 0. And I don't have to write the 0, I'm just going to do it. And then the y plus 4 comes down. Well, hello, kitty cat. Okay, and then to get y by itself, all we have to do is get rid of addition of 4. And so to get rid of addition of 4, we subtract 4 from both sides. And since I can't subtract 4 from an x, I have to subtract 4 from the constant. And now things start dropping like flies. 4 minus 4 is 0. Shoop, drop the y. Drop the equals. Drop the -1x, which I can just write as -x. And then I calculate 0 minus 4, and that makes -4. And that's my answer. So this is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form that goes through this point and has a slope of -1. Okay, so once again, we can use point-slope form if we have a point and a slope, and that's exactly what number 2 gives us. It gives us a point and gives us a slope. So let's write our formula down. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And remember, you're going to plug in 3 things: the y coordinate, the slope, and the x coordinate. All right, here we go. So it goes y minus, and then it wants the y coordinate. Remember, x comes before y, so -6 is our y coordinate. And then equals our slope, and our slope is -8. And then in parentheses, it goes x minus, and then it wants the x coordinate, which is 3. And remember that a minus and negative back to back makes a big old plus. Okay, so now to put this in slope-intercept form, I want y all by itself. So remember, solving equation skills. If you see parentheses, distribute to get rid of them. So -8 times x makes -8x. And -8 times -3 makes a +24. And then I'm going to drop down my y plus 6. Okay? And then to get y by itself, I need to get rid of addition of 6, so I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. And remember, you can't subtract 6 from an x, so you have to put it underneath the 24. And now things start dropping like flies. So 6 minus 6 is 0. Shoop, drop the y, drop the equals, drop the -8x, and then what is 24 minus 6? 18. And that's our answer. This is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form that goes through this point and has a slope of -8. What do you think? Not too bad, huh? Okay, so let's try it again. I have a point, I have a slope. So here I go. I'm ready for point slope. So y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. I find that the more you write the equation, the more you remember it. Okay, we're plugging in 3 things: the y coordinate, the slope, and the x coordinate. All right, so we go y minus, which one's the y coordinate? The 3. Remember, x comes before y. And then equals the slope, and who's the slope? 2. And then in parentheses, x minus the x coordinate, which is 2. This time I don't have a minus, a negative here or here. Okay, so now to solve for y, we're going to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. So 2 times x makes 2x, and 2 times -2 makes -4. Oh my goodness, kitty, you're out of control. Let's bring down the y minus 3. And then to get y by itself, to get rid of subtraction of 3, we add 3. And of course, I have to do it to both sides. Now things start dropping like flies. So the y drops, the equals drops, the 2x drops, and -4 plus 3 makes -1. And that's our answer. What do you think? Okay, I think I'm going to skip number 4 because we're going to do more of this on the next page anyway. So hopefully you're pretty much getting the hang of it. Okay, so let's look at the next page. So we have a little something extra to do here. All right, so remember I said we could put an equation in point-slope form as long as we have a point and we have a slope. Well, look at what they gave us in these 4 problems. What'd they give us? They gave us points. So we've got the points taken care of. What we don't have is the slope. They didn't tell us the slope for any of these problems. So guess what? We have to find the slope using this formula that we've practiced in the past. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and label x, y, x, y. And remember, the first point is x1, y1, and the second point is x2, y2. Okay, so we're going to find the slope before we do anything else. All right, so following our formula, y2 minus y1. So 1 minus 5 over x2 minus x1, so -4 minus -2. And remember, the minus the negative back to back makes a big old plus. Okay, working this out, 1 minus 5 makes -4. -4 plus 2 makes -2. Always reduce. -4 divided by -2 makes a +2. Now I've got my slope. So I had my points to begin with, and now I've got my slope. So now I'm ready for point slope form. Okay, so I'm going to write it down. So y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And once again, we'll plug in the y coordinate, the slope, and the x coordinate. All right, so here's the deal. We have 2 points to work with, but you only work with one. So either you use the first point and ignore the one I'm covering up, or you use the second point and ignore the one I'm covering up. It really is just whatever numbers you like better. So it's up to you. I think I like the -4 and 1 better. So I'm going to ignore this guy. So I'm going to work with this point right here, and I'm going to work with this slope right here. So it goes y minus, which of these is the y coordinate? The 1. And then that equals, what was the slope we found? The slope we found was 2. And then in parentheses, x minus, and then it wants the x coordinate, and the x coordinate of this point we picked is -4. And remember, a minus and negative back to back makes a big old plus. All right, so let's distribute to get rid of the parentheses. So 2 times x makes 2x, and 2 times 4 makes 8. Bring down your y minus 1. And then to get y by itself, what do you think we'll do? Add 1. To get rid of subtraction of something, we do the opposite and add. So I add 1 to both sides, and things start dropping like flies. That makes 0. Drop the y, drop the equals, drop the 2x. And 8 plus 1 makes 9. And this is the equation of the line that goes through those 2 points. Okay, so point slope form is what we're using today, and you're ready to use it right off the bat if you have a point and a slope. But if all you have are points, then you've got to find the slope first. All right, let's look at number 2. Okay, so I'm going to find my slope. So y2 minus y1, so 6 minus -3. Let's go ahead and turn that into a big old plus. Over x2 minus x1, so 1 minus -2. And let's go ahead and turn that into a big old plus. So the numerator, 6 plus 3 makes 9, division bar. The denominator, 1 plus 2 makes 3. Divide it, 9 divided by 3 makes 3. Now I get to pick the point that I want to use, and it's up to you. You can either use the first point and ignore the second, or use the second point and ignore the first. Okay? I think I'm going to pick the second point. All right, so point slope form, y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And remember, we're going to plug in the y coordinate, the slope, and the x coordinate. All right, so I go y minus, who's the y coordinate of the point we picked? 6. And then equals, what was the slope we found? 3. And then in parentheses, x minus, And the x coordinate of the point we found, or the point we picked, 1. And if somebody used this point, they'd get the exact same answer as us. It's just their work would look a little bit different. So it doesn't matter which point you pick. Okay, let's distribute to get rid of parentheses. 3 times x makes 3x. And 3 times negative 1 makes negative 3. I'm going to drop the y minus 6. And to get y by itself, what do you think? Add 6. To get rid of subtraction, we have to add it. And if you do it to one side, do it to the other. So this zeroes out, drop the y, drop the equals, drop the 3x, and then just calculate negative 3 plus 6, which makes positive 3. So basically, we're just doing what we did on the first paper, but we had to find the slope first. Okay, let's just jump down to number 4. I don't think we need to do all 4 of these. All right, so number 4, I've got to find my slope first. All right, so I go y2 minus y1. So negative 1 minus 2 over x2 minus x1. So 4 minus negative 5. Remember, the minus and negative back to back makes a big old plus. All right, let's work the numerator. Negative 1 minus 2 makes negative 3. Put your fraction bar. 4 plus 5 makes 9. And do you know what that makes? It makes a negative 1/3. You can divide both of these numbers by 3. If your denominator is ever bigger, it won't come out pretty. So this is going to make negative 1/3. So if it had been 9 over negative 3, then that would have made negative 3. So if the bigger number is on top and it divides, it comes out nice. But if the bigger number is on bottom, then it doesn't come out pretty. You have to reduce it down. Okay, so now I'm ready for point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Okay, we're going to plug the y coordinate in here, the slope here, and the x coordinate here. All right, now I'm just going to work the first point this time because I haven't done the first point on either of the other problems. Okay, so it's going to go y minus, what's the y coordinate of this point I picked? 2. Equals, what was the slope we found? Negative 1/3. And then in parentheses, it goes x minus, and who's the x coordinate? Negative 5. And remember, the minus the negative back to back makes a big old plus. All right, now this is where you might get frightened. So I'm going to use our calculator to help us. So negative 1/3 times x, that's easy. That's negative 1/3 x. Now I need to take negative 1/3 times 5. Okay, I'm going to have my calculator help me. So negative 1/3. So I'm going to use this alpha y equals. I think several of you have used it in the past, and I don't want you to be afraid of it. So alpha y equals, I want number 1, so I'm just going to hit enter, and I can write my fraction like how you're used to seeing it. So it's negative 1/3, so negative 1, arrow down, put your 3. Now to get out of this fraction, we have to right arrow. And I'm trying to take negative 1/3 times 5. So I just hit times 5. And it gives me negative 5/3. So I write minus 5/3. And then I'm going to bring down my y minus 2. And then what do you think I would do to get y by itself? Add 2. To get rid of subtraction of something, I add. And then things start dropping. This makes 0. Drop your y, drop your equals, drop your negative 1/3 x. Now I need to figure out what negative 5/3 plus 2 is. Okay. So I'm just going to arrow back up and highlight my negative 5/3 and hit enter. So now negative 5/3 is already in my calculator, and I just need to go plus 2. So plus 2. And I get a positive 1/3. So I write plus 1/3. And that's my answer. And this is how you write equations in point-slope form and convert them to slope-intercept form. That's all for today. Smiley face!